Good afternoon, everyone present here. I, Vijayalakshmi H. Manjunatha, welcome you all for the second session of International Conference on Responsible Artificial Intelligence 2024. It's my pleasure to introduce the session chairs, Professor Basappa Kodad. Professor Basappa Kodad completed his BE in Computer Science and Engineering from Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belgavi in 2007, MTech in Information Security from NITK in 2010, completed PhD from Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belgavi 2021. Sir has completed worked in BGSIT Bellur, NITK Suratkal, AJ Institute of Engineering and Technology, now serving as professor and head of the Department of AIML in Canara Engineering College, Bantwad. Professor Basappa got 5 patents in his name, published many papers in reputed national and international journals. Sir has awarded and recognized as bronze partner faculty in Infosys Mangalore, as selected for faculty sabbatical project at Infosys Bangalore in 2011. Professor Basappa has given many invited lectures on AI-related topics and tools used. His area of research are information security, cryptography, and cloud security. Sir, we welcome you all for this session. I would like to request Shajia to welcome Sir florally. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good afternoon to all. I take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Manoj Gadiyar. Dr. Manoj Gadiyar is an associate professor in the Department of Information Science and Engineering with over 18 years of teaching and mentoring experience. He specializes in sharing his technical knowledge and interpersonal skills to foster academic and research growth among students and colleagues. His current research focuses on developing algorithms and techniques that balance consumer privacy and personalization using generative contextual machine learning. Dr. Gadiyar holds a PhD from Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belagavi, MTech in Computer Science and Engineering from SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad, and a BE in Information Science and Engineering from Canara Engineering College, Karnataka, India. He serves on several editorial boards and as a reviewer for prominent journals, contributing significantly to academic governance and research dissemination in the field. He is also member external board of examinations in Department of Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning for NITTE, and member external in Board of Examinations, Department of AI and ML for NMA MIT NITTE. I invite Ms. Vijayalakshmi to florally welcome Dr. Gadiyar. Welcome, sir. Now we start the afternoon session of presentation. The presentation is for 10 minutes. 2 minutes are allotted for question-answer session. The presenter for the afternoon sessions are paper ID 050 Vidya Kumari, 051 Safnaz, 054 Rashmi Amin, 062 Rohan S. Kumar. I now invite the first presenter to present his paper, that is 050 Vidya Kumari.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sirs. Me with paper ID 050. I'm Vidya with the guidance of Dr. B.H. Shekhar. I'll be presenting a paper titled Iris Liveliness Detection using Hybrid DCT DWT Feature Extraction and Efficient ResNet Ensemble. So we all know what is biometric. We use biometric for authentication purpose. There are various biometric authentication available. Here in the image you can see there is fingerprint, there is facial recognition, there is video recognition and eye recognition. So biometric authentication is widely used for verifying identities in applications such as access control systems or mobile devices. Here in my paper I'm working for iris recognition. Iris recognition is widely adopted biometric modality for high security applications. However, ensuring the liveness detection remains a challenge due to sophisticated spoofing techniques. So there are various spoofing techniques that you can see in the image. Firstly, paper printout attack, where they take the paper printouts and keep in front of the authenticated device. Then we have a video or display attack, textured contact lens, and prosthetic eye attack. These are the various attacks. So existing iris liveness detection techniques struggle to handle diverse spoofing methods, because of which we have tried developing a hybrid feature extraction method, that is with the help of DCT and DWT. And also we have used ensemble classifier using two models, that is EfficientNet and ResNet, to enhance accuracy and robustness in liveness detection. There are various work which has done under the iris liveness detection. One of the work in a paper is discrete cosine transform and discrete wavelet transform. And in another paper, they have used machine learning model. They have used a DCT method to extract the fragmental coefficient, which are then used as feature vectors for training machine learning classifiers like random forest. This is the proposed methodology. So in my data set, I already have the test and train data set, so we are not splitting it. It's already split as two different folders. So we pass the fake and real iris images to the pre-processing step, where we normalize, we resize, and then we denoise, and we pass it on to DCT block and DWT block separately. We extract the features from DCT block and then from DWT block, and then pass this feature vector as a whole to the classifiers, that is ResNet and EfficientNet. The features extracted from ResNet and EfficientNet are combined together and used for the classification of real and fake features. We will go in detail in the next slides. The first step of my proposed methodology is input and feature extraction in iris liveliness detection. The iris image undergoes a series of pre-processing steps to prepare it for analysis, like resize, normalization, and so on. The next step involves the feature extraction, that is, as told, two methods. One is discrete cosine transform, which focuses on capturing the global frequency domain features, and the second one is discrete wavelet transform, which extracts local texture details by analyzing the image at different scales and resolution. So these transformations together help in creating the robust representation of the iris, which can be used for subsequent classification. So next step, DCT transformation, how we globally take the global frequency domain features. The DCT is a mathematical transform used to analyze an image in terms of the frequent content. It converts the iris image from the spatial domain to its frequency domain, breaking it down into components based on global patterns. So it captures the low frequency components like smooth and broad structures, and high frequency components like sharp edges and transition. So how I can use it for liveness detection? The genuine iris images usually have smooth natural transitions and unique patterns that are reflected in their low frequency component. Whereas if at all it has a lack of a smooth transition or unnatural frequency component, it could be considered as a spoofed iris. So DCT helps to highlight these structural patterns, broad structural patterns in the iris images, providing global features. Whereas when it comes to DWT transformation, extracting the localized texture details. Discrete wavelet transform is a powerful technique for multi-resolution analysis, which allows the image to be decomposed into various frequency bands at different scales. So it decomposes the image into horizontal, vertical, and diagonal subbands, and it is used to find the finer details. The decomposition process results in approximation coefficient and detail coefficient. So approximation coefficient represents the low frequency information, whereas the detail coefficient captures the high frequency. So importance of liveness detection. Real irises contain unique texture patterns at the local level, which are critical for identifying a live person, whereas spoofed images may lack in this fine-grained or textual details. So DWT now helps us to extract the localized texture details, whereas DCT helped us in the global patterns. So next step is a feature combination. So features from both these blocks are taken. So after DCT and DWT transformation, both sets of features are combined to form a comprehensive feature vector. So DCT feature capture global patterns to give the overview of the iris general structure, whereas DWT feature focus on localized texture. So this combined representation is more robust and help the system to differentiate between real and spoofed irises. Once the feature vector is combined, we pass it on to ResNet model and EfficientNet model separately. So ResNet model is a deep convolution neural network that leverages residual connections, and here in the processes the combined features to learn important patterns of iris. It allows the model to focus on important features and ignores the unnecessary noise. So iris images have tiny and complex details that shallow networks might miss, so that's why we use ResNet. EfficientNet model captures the finer grains. It is a state-of-art model that balances accuracy and computational efficiency. It optimizes both depth, width and resolution of the network. So here after the process of EfficientNet, it combines the features to capture small details like texture. The small details of an iris are very important and so on. So for example in Clarkson 17 and so on. So for example in Clarkson 2015 folder itself there are 12,000 images of real and fake irises. There is live folder which contains the images of real live human irises, whereas pattern folder which consists of artificial iris patterns. The images captured from DELSA and LG devices are there in a pattern folder, whereas print folder contains printed images of irises, either real or fake. If you look at the picture, the first figure is live images, the second one is a pattern, and the third one is a print. So it's very clear that print images are fake. So if you run or execute or implement this ResNet and EfficientNet for these type of data set, it will give you 100% accuracy. So the evaluation metrics are accuracy, precision, recall and F1 score. For all the biometric we use the same evaluation metrics. I also used checked for false acceptance rate and false rejection rate. These are the results. If false acceptance rate and rejection rate are low, it is considered to be better model. This is the comparison with the different papers where they have done different implementations for precision, recall and F measure. This is the confusion matrix. This is a receiver operating characteristic. For print, it gives 100% accuracy, and for pattern, it is 99.18% accuracy. So this study demonstrates the efficacy of using a CNN-based ensemble model combined with the discrete cosine transform and discrete wavelet transform feature extraction techniques for iris liveness detection. The model achieved 100% accuracy in detecting printed spoof data and 99.18% with pattern spoof data, highlighting its robustness against different spoofing types. So these findings are better comparing to the other reviews what I have. These are the references. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I have not experienced spoofing technique. It's my area where my initial works I was doing with fingerprint spoofing technique. So this time I've explored iris spoofing technique. That's as in the images that we have seen. For example, we go to college daily and we punch. So if at all we take a picture of my eyes and then keep it in front of the punching machine. I have not tried. I have not tried. This is my third paper. I don't know. May not be submissions. Yeah, maybe next year I'll be submitting. This is my third objective, spoofing. Yeah. The ones that I've put in the reference. Yeah. This is the recent paper, the second one. Machine learning based iris liveness identification using a fragmental energy. So what is the difference you got from that? They've used only DCT model and they passed it on to random forest. So we thought of using DWT as well and look into different models possible. What is the reason you have taken that model Yeah, like we thought the models that were not explored. So I actually didn't find any combination of ResNet and efficient till today. Today morning first paper they presented the same combination actually. ResNet and efficient. This combination was not there, and one of the model actually goes into the finer details and other one for the global details, and so we thought we can use these two models. Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on for the different data set for the same models, fingerprint. Yeah. From the Clarkson University only I've received the data set. So I'm working for both to see to it that multitask model could be done. Yeah. Because it has, I can use my references now. It has mobile inverted bottleneck blocks there. There are 7 stages within it, and it is used so that it becomes faster comparing to other models. Comparison, yeah, I should have shown the comparison, yeah, correct. Yes, 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 computational, yeah. Next, yeah, I will make a note of, yeah, yes, sir. Computational complexity. Yeah, correct. Actually, my earlier models, I had merged the DenseNet, the ResNet, and VGG16, and there was computational complexity was more. This is less comparing to that, but that comparison I have not shown here. Yeah. Correct. No, this is for here only. Uh, 12,000 in that 2000. Yeah, yeah. It's already divided in that. There is 5,000 testing data and 7,000 training data. Uh, no, I've used. Yeah. No, that is why I've used, actually my initial work I did only for the print data set. And then to explore for different data sets, I tried that, the other one, pattern one, which is almost close to the real images. So I think it should work better for all iris images. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite paper ID 051 Safnaz to present her paper.
Okay, uh, thank you. Good afternoon. Myself Safnaz. I am here to present my paper title Enhanced Watermark Text Classification using the Extended MobileNet V2 model. Here authors are Bharati Pilar and myself. It's not moving to next slide.
No, she is not. She is pursuing her PhD. Yes.
What happened now?
ಅಂದ್ರ PC ಬೇರೆ
ಬೇರೆ ಬಿಸಿದಾಗ
ಬೇರೆ
ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ ಪಿ ಸಿನ
ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್
ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂನ Where is the ICRAI? Leave it, leave it.
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ
This is also coming.
Start, sir. It's getting late. They have to give a presentation at 3 only, it seems.
ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೂವಿಂಗ್
It's not moving now. When we present now,
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ
ಇದು ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಲೂಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲ
ಇಲ್ಲ
Let me take it to the next participant, okay?
ಬಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೂವಿಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
Maybe only in your presentation it is not moving, sir.
ಹೌದಾ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಬೇರೆ
Can
ನೋಡಿ
you start another one, sir, from here?
ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ನೋಡಿ ಅಂತೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗ್ತದಾ ಅಂತ
Not this one.
ನಾವು ವಿಲ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ
Yeah, in yours it's not moving. We'll do something about it.
ಓಕೆ
Leave it. I now invite paper ID 054, Rashmi Amin, to present her paper.
Sorry. It's okay.
Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Please unmute and respond. Anyone? Audible? Okay. ಅವರು ಎಸ್ ನಾನು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Very good afternoon to all of you present here. I am pleased and honored to introduce Dr. Vibhushini. Dr. Vibhushini is a lecturer in cybersecurity and serves as a program director for the BSc Computer Security program at Cardiff Metropolitan University. She is a STEM ambassador, a cyber first ambassador and a mentor, as well as the faculty advisor for the Women in Cybersecurity student chapter at Cardiff Metropolitan University. Additionally, she holds the position of early career liaison for the British Computer Society South Wales branch. Dr. Vibhushini is actively involved in research related to data security, data protection, personal privacy, data protection legislation, and policy development. She also participates in outreach activities aimed to supporting and encouraging females pursuing studies in STEM field. With this brief introduction, so I welcome Dr. Vibhushini to this session. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So good afternoon to all the attendees here, and also very good morning to those who have joined us online today. So our speaker is Professor Zhang Shang. I'm really sorry if I mispronounce your name. He's a professor of AI in the Department of Computer Science at Swansea University in United Kingdom. His research focuses on human and machine learning. He combines computational modeling, machine learning, and brain imaging to understand human cognition. On machine intelligence, he develops artificial agents to mimic the human capacity of cognitive operations and also social interactions. More recently, he started to work on predictive analysis of electronic health records. So we would like to welcome Professor Sang, and he's going to talk to us about the human decision making in the era of AI. Over to you, Professor.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh,
Thank you for the invitation. Can you all hear me all right?
Thank you for the invitation. Can you all hear me all right? 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 Can you all hear me all right
Sorry, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, just I have some problem sharing my screen. Apologize for that. Just give me 1 second. Not sure why I can't share screen. Sorry, my laptop asked me to rejoin this meeting before I can share. Okay, I'll rejoin just in a second. Sorry about that.
That's not a problem, thank you. Hi, Professor Sang. Can you hear us? Okay, perfect. Now we can see your slides.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
Can you
see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right.
Shall I start?
Shall I start?
Okay,
All right, I'll start then. So first, thank you so much for the invitation, and I do apologize that I can't be there physically to share my presentation. So,
as
just introduced, I'm from Swansea University, from computer science. So today I'm going to share some of our work that we did in the last few years, really trying to
understand in
particular how AI can help in terms of healthcare and how AI can help our understanding of human intelligence.
So my
research can be literally summarized in this graph. So we started as a group of doing cognitive neuroscience,
and it
gradually becomes apparent that in order to understand how human works, we probably should take advantage of the recent development in AI and particularly in machine learning. And therefore, this kind of promote this kind of new trend, if you like, to develop new models, machine learning models, or more complex language models
that is
inspired by our understanding of how brain works, or how
natural intelligence
works.
At the same time,
the development of new machine learning models enabled, as we can see in many presentations and talks from this conference, that assisted or facilitate the more optimal analysis of my particular interest is in healthcare data. And that actually impacts many areas in healthcare. So for example, in EHR, stands for electronic health records, so basically our clinical records in hospitals or from the GPs. Or I will give you some examples later today on neurosurgery, on pathology, but also in many other areas. And just to fit to the topic of this conference, so I think the responsible AI, so this is not just to deliver the model that has the optimal performance or the best performance, but it is also it's kind of a goal to have a model that will function in the way that humans or the operators or the users would like them to be. So, so part of my talk is to share our experience through several projects that how standard computer science project or machine learning project turns out to be, we need to do something more in addition to satisfy the need of the end users. So I do apologize if I can't see questions from the audience because I don't have a camera view for you all.
But if you do have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. Okay, so I think I will give you three examples of our work that really try to highlight how we literally can bring together machine learning and the practical need of machine learning models in the real world. So the first example, this is actually done by our PhD student, Matt Morgan, here at Swansea University. This is a project in which we analyze the electronic health record from hospitals. So here, in this particular project, the technical bit is relatively simple, as you can see later, but I just want to highlight the importance of model explainability from any machine learning models. So the aim of the project itself is try to predict the outcome of the emergency care department in hospitals. So here we took data from a university health board here in Wales, which has the name HOIDA. So this is a kind of regional health board from UK National Health Services, which covers a large part of the Mid and the West Wales. As you can see here, this is the map of the Wales, and where the star is the regions that this health board provides services for. So it has three main counties, have a relatively, I would say, by Wales standard, it's a small population of 385,000 people. But the unique challenge of this health board is that those local residents, they spread across a large, vast of area. So many of them actually living in rural areas. Therefore, in particular for older adults living there, the access to the emergency department in a hospital can be very difficult. Sometimes you need to drive quite long distance to go to the hospital. So we had a partnership, so collaboration with the health board to get their data. So from 2015 all the way up to 2023. So there are about more than 1.5 million admissions at several hospital emergency departments across this health board. Okay. So then back to standard machine learning. This is nothing new. This is a very simple application to a very simple data set. So we do have standard features like the demographic of the patients for every single emergency event, right? So we have information about demographics, location, so where the hospital is, and information about incidents. So whether this is a major or minor incidents, or the type of the incident. So, for example, someone may have a traffic accident, or someone may cut their hands at home, or someone may have a fall from the stairs, etc. And also we have arriving methods as well. So that basically detailed how the patient arrived at the hospital. So they could drive by themselves, or they could brought to the hospital by the ambulance, or they can just walk straight to the hospital. And the predictions, the class with the labels of the data set, the things we try to predict are essentially three categories. So either the patient will later discharged, or the patient admitted or transferred to other hospital wards, or the patient unfortunately died in the emergency department. So nothing fancy, so just standard simple machine learning on a simple data set from cross-validation. So this is our result from a set of very common machine learning models. I'm sure for this audience, you probably know all those models. So I won't go into any detail of the models, but for this particular given data set from cross-validation, so it appears that random forest is the best one to use. Again, standard machine learning stuff. Now, this is where things get a little bit interested that we present this to the health board data science staff. And their kind of impression and kind of also lessons we learned is, okay, this is fine. And they are interested, but they actually just want to get to know more. Beyond that, okay, they know there's a model that can predict the emergency care outcome. So that is, with all the information, all the features we have, the models can predict relatively accurate the potential outcome of that patient. What they want to know more is which features actually is more important in reaching that classification or reaching that decision from the machine learning models. There's many ways of doing that. Initially, we didn't think about it because we're computer scientists, right? We just deal with the problem, we get a model with the best performance, and that's it. But because the kind of a comment from our partners or stakeholders, so we just did a very simple, a few more analysis. So there's many, as I mentioned, there's many ways you can get the importance of the features or the contributions of individual features to the performance of the classifier. So here we just use a simple one, pick the best classifier, the random forest. With a random forest, one thing you can do that is attached to the classifier is the mean decrease in the impurity. So basically that is initial visit. So that kind of brings some additional, from the model explainability perspective, this brings additional information that is useful for the decision maker to take, responses or corresponding actions from this predictive analysis. Okay, then we did something addition, that is, instead of using data from many years, what we try to do is we just train the model on a single quarterly data, and then we try to predict or try to measure the consistency of the model performance in all the following months. So here, as you can see, on the x-axis is the time, the quarterly time used by the model to train, and the y-axis is the data we use to test. Sorry, other way around. The y-axis is the data we use to train the model, and x-axis is the model we use to test the model performance. And what you can see here is that during, between 2019 and 2023, the model does reach, during COVID period, the model does reach a consistent, comparable performance, even when trained on quarterly data. Okay, so that's basically just a first simple example on how we just use some very simple kind of model feature importance to bring the additional explainability to a trained model. And in the second example, I will switch a topic, come to neurosurgery. So here, the example I used, I would like to highlight the importance of enabling human interaction during any machine learning models that we might develop for real-world application. So this is done by one of my PhD students, Shamir Aslam, also here at Swansea University. Now, the scientific question about this project is we would like to have a semi-automatic way of localizing stereo EEG electrodes that have been implanted in patient's brain. So let me just unpack this a bit more. So here in this little figure, this is what you can see is what we call depth electrodes or stereo EEG electrodes. So this is basically a very small recording devices which often implanted in patient brain through some neurosurgery. The reason why some patients may need that is, in most cases, those patients are patients with epilepsy, and they don't respond well to anti-epileptic drugs. And in those cases, the one option is to surgically remove certain brain tissues which generate seizures. And in order to find or to localize which brain area is responsible for the seizure, the surgeons need to implant many of those electrodes into the brain before they're planning the surgery so that they know where to cut the brain from. So this is kind of this is not about neurosurgery, but this is a kind of more technical problem. That is, in a standard surgery procedure, the patient often implanted with 10 or sometimes 15 or 20 electrodes. So each electrode can be fairly long, and along the electrodes, there are many, can be 10 or 20 recording sites, or what we call contacts. So here you can see, if you can see my mouse, so this is individual, those metal stripes, those are individual recording sites. I hope you can see my markers here. Those individual recording sites are independent channels from which the brain signal, the EEG signal, will be collected. So the question is, so here in those figures, you can see this is a single patient example where this patient had been implanted many electrodes. You can see from, this is CT images after the implantation of the electrodes. Okay, you can see from the brain, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think it's 7 electrodes here. And the question is, we want to know exactly where individual electrodes are after the surgery. And in addition, we want to know exactly where the individual contacts, so the recording sites, are along those electrodes. So here you can see the one highlighted here. So I hope you can see the individual contacts. We can clearly see in the CT image, because those are metal stripes, so they have a very high intensity in CT images, right? So this is a fairly easy task for any computer vision algorithm to pick it up, and we can easily do segmentation to get the precise 3D coordinates of individual contacts. Now, the challenge, there's two challenges here. One is, if the electrode is not kind of a horizontal, vertical, or perpendicular to the recording orientation, we'll get the cases like this. This is like oblique electrode, so it goes sideways from outside, goes into the brain. And just because this orientation, so naturally, it after we acquire the CT image from the patient, the pixels or the intensities from the electrodes actually will kind of diffuse together. This is just the nature of how the electrodes look like on the CT images. Okay, so here, compared to this one, we can no longer see very clear the individual separated contacts. So it is a very challenging kind of computer vision task to be able to identify the individual contacts as we do for those horizontal or vertical electrodes. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is when those two electrodes are implanted but very, very close to each other. So we have a case that the two electrodes touching each other, and that is also fairly difficult for simple algorithm to pick it up. You know, whether the voxels here, the voxels that have seen two electrodes crossing, whether this belongs to electrodes 1 or electrode B or 2, that has been challenging. So this is our kind of research question. So we want to find a kind of analysis pipeline as automatic as possible to be identified, to automatically identify the precise location, the 3D coordinates of individual contacts. Okay, so this is what we have done, and to localize the individual electrodes, this is not a very challenging task. So people have done that. So we follow a similar method here. So the standard clinical pipeline is people underwent a CT scan before their surgery. Then the patient did another another CT scan after their surgery. So compare the two. So in this particular single patient example, you can see that after surgery, we can clearly see from the CT image this additional the existence of the electrodes here, right? So to segment electrodes are relatively simple. And at the same time, the patient also underwent MRI scan so that we can see the brain tissues here. So this is the panel C from in the figure is MRI scan. So the T1 weighted MRI scan. So you can see the brain tissues, gray matter, white matter, extra. So from the T1 weighted MRI image, we get the brain mask. And then we take just a very simple difference between the pre and the post surgery CT images to get the difference of those two images. This is a very simple method because before and after surgery, the patient's brain stays the same, so their skull stays the same. The only difference is the addition of the electrodes, right? So by taking the difference, we can clearly expose the voxels in the CT images post the surgery that belongs to the electrodes. So here you can see the electrodes has been highlighted very well. And we just apply the brain mask to the CT images. Then we get a brain image, but with the electrodes, the voxels of electrodes highlighted. Now here comes the kind of why we do need a kind of a human intervention for a simple method like this, because we can just use very simple k-mean clustering in 3D space. And this is, we can use that only apply to the outer region of the brain, the outer layer of the brain, I should say. And it worked very well in probably 80% of the cases. But in the remaining 20% of the cases, errors did occur. Okay, so this is an example. So all the kind of this stick-like shape, this is individual electrodes for a patient. And sometimes the simple k-mean clustering can misclassify or bring a false cluster. So here indicated as a false positive. So this the center of this cluster should be here, right? This indicates independent electrodes that hasn't been identified. So here we do have a false positive and we missed a classifier, sorry, a cluster, which should be a false negative. So here we do need some small human intervention here. The kind of workaround we did is we just add some buttons on the GUI so that people can come back, the user can come back, just artificially label this as an independent electrode. And it worked very well. So this is after correction. As you can see, all the individual electrodes has been identified. But we do not need to do that very often. So this is just an option to build into our pipeline to enable us to deal with some challenging cases. So after we identify the tip, if you like, the most outside segment of electrodes, then what we do is we fit, because if you you understand the electrodes is like a line, but a straight line in 3D, in 3 dimensions, right? So what we do is we fit a singular value decomposition line, so SVD line in 3 dimensions. So that line corresponds to the dominant orientation of individual electrodes. And we do that iteratively. So every time we start from the tip, then we go, let's say, 10%, and then we refit the line again. So this iterative approach will gradually adjust the kind of global orientation of individual electrodes. And after many iterations, the orientation of the fitted SVD line corresponds to the true orientation of the actual electrodes. We need to do this iterative approach because, as you can see from the examples here, many electrodes have very close distance from each other. So this kind of iterative approach avoids the voxels being attributed to a different cluster, different electrodes from what they should belong to. And the figure on the right suggests that the global orientation of individual electrodes quickly saturate after 20, 30 iterations, suggesting this is a good performance of the model. Okay. So this step is fully automatic. There's no human intervention needed because it worked very well. And the last step is after we identify the line or orientation of each electrode, we then simply project all the voxels that belongs to that electrode along, project that down to one dimension. So because this is SVD line, so from 3 dimensions, we project that down to 1 dimension, and we get a plot on the right. So on the right is the voxel intensity of every single voxel that has been assigned to that electrode. The reason why we need to do that is because if you remember the figure I showed you earlier, the metal stripe along the electrodes right here, this has very high intensity on the CT scans. Therefore, when we look along this one-dimensional line, the point which has a very high intensity is basically the center of those metal, recording sites. So here, we can just use a very simple clustering method to identify along the electrodes. Here, the x-axis is the distance along this electrode direction, and the y-axis is the voxel intensity. So we just do a one-dimensional clustering. We can get the position of individual recording sites. Now, this works all fine until we realize we actually also need some manual intervention or manual correction sometimes. The reason is, although the clustering method is relatively robust, it does need some prior information for it to work. It needs to know how many electrode contacts it's supposed to identify, right? And we do get this information from every patient's clinical records because during the surgical planning, there were records on how many electrodes were used, and for each electrode, how many contacts they have along the electrode. But it turns out that this is not always correct. Okay, there are cases, actually, this is not rare. There are cases where the number of contacts were actually not correct. So if this number is wrong, and if you force the clustering algorithm to identify contacts that has a different number from what happened in the actual case, we will end up with mislocalized individual contacts. Okay, so this is where we do actually need some manual correction. Basically, we allow the users to be able to check and change the number of contacts from which we got from the clinical records. So by enabling these adjustments, then we can eventually do fairly good localization in a semi-automatic way. So the last result showed here, just to summarize, that across nearly 10 patients we have tried, we have many more patients that works relatively well. But here, just representing 8 patients here. For them, for various of age, as young as from 4 years old all the way up to 20 years, 27, or over 30 years old, with a number of different electrodes in the left and the right hemisphere, and we achieve very accurate localization of individual contacts over 98% of the time. And in most cases, we solve this kind of challenge when there is oblique trajectories of electrodes that go sideways into the brain. But this is still not a perfect solution, so we're still working on kind of a newer version of this. In some cases, the oblique trajectory still imposes a challenge in the way that even the simple clustering method cannot do it perfectly. So we're still trying to look potential new ways of doing to solve these questions. But here, I just want to use the second example to highlight the need to embed to embed the kind of a human interaction when needed to be able to correct during a very complex long workflow to correct errors that may come from machines or from models. Okay, and the third example I want to give you is from our PhD student Connor Atkins. So this is about how we should pay attention to model flexibility. So this is an example in pathology. So here, I think I saw from the conference program, I think there are several similar talks on this topic. So I'd be really interested to know how you guys deal with this problem. But essentially, this is the research question of this project is we try to use deep neural networks to classify whole slide images from patients with cancer, with variants of cancer. The whole slide image is a digitized histology slide. So, okay, normally doctors take tissue samples and then they do the histological stain and then they scan that on the microscopic facility and then they digitize the whole image. So the challenge of this type of data is that for those of you who work on those type of data, you must know this. I'm sure you know this, that the whole slide image very often comes with very, very high resolution. So I'm talking about, 100,000 or even to a million pixels per dimension. So it's super high resolution and the file size is also very, very big. And so here, okay, so this the figure on the left is an example of a whole slide image. Okay, so it's a stain of a tissue sample, basically. But this may only be, I don't know, 2 to 4 centimeters size. But because it has super high resolution, that therefore you can zoom in a lot and you can literally see individual cell. In this case, this is an example of patient with breast cancer. So here you can see the pathologists already have done the annotations. So they basically draw the boundary between the segments which they think is malignant. So there's a cancer cells versus the benign cells, the healthy cells. Okay. The question, or scientific question we want to address here is, for given whole slide image, right? Can we quickly identify two things? One, the first is simple, whether this image from a patient or from a control, right? The second question is more challenging. That is, can we ask a machine learning model to automatically annotate the regions that the model think it is malignant? And in this particular example, we didn't do anything fancy here. We just use standard UNet. So some of you working deep neural network, you probably know this. So the standard UNet is almost like the autoencoder decoder structure. The main feature here is that the layers, this is deep neural network with convolutionary layers, okay? And the feature here is the layers in the encoder are directly also copied to the corresponding layers in the decoder. Therefore, the whole network, the UNet, can take the features both from the compressed hidden information, which comes at the end of the encoder, but also have a direct copy of information from the earlier encoder layers. The nice thing about this UNet, by the way, there's many other new frameworks who can do this type of analysis nowadays. But one of the nice original feature of UNet is it allows the model to give you pixel level probability or pixel level output, let's say, so that for every single pixel, we can get a number, essentially a probability, where the model thinks this particular pixel belongs to, let's say, malignant or a benign class. And that is exactly what we want. We want to get pixel level accuracy here. And we just apply the simple UNet model to a data set from patients with breast cancers. And the result, I won't give you a detailed result here. I just want to highlight one thing. That is, although the model works well, but this is the pathologist doesn't, they don't just want a single number from a machine learning model. Because what their normal workflow is, they are looking the whole slide image at different level of magnification. Okay, so sometimes they just look the whole slide in general, and they zoom in into a particular region, and then, for example, this might be zooming at 5 times magnification, and they spot some, suspicious area, they're zooming again. So this from 5 times magnification to times 10. And then they zoom in again to times 20 or times 40. So this is their workflow. Say they would like, so after we talk to some pathologists here, what they would like is a workflow that kind of a similar or model that works similar to their workflow. So in the end, what we actually did is we train and test independent UNets at different level of magnification, and then we combine the models from different magnification together in order to get the probability at a single pixel level. It also allows the model to do the diagnosis more efficiently, because at a lower, so in this case, for times 5 magnification, at the lower resolution, if the model is very certain that this whole patch, right, is negative, then there's no need to go into high resolution for further classification, which actually saves a lot of time to test a single whole slide image. As I mentioned before, because the dimension is huge here, therefore it can save a lot of time in actual testing. Okay, so this is just the third example I want to highlight. That is, sometimes we need, even there are good solutions to existing problems, we do need to consider how flexible those models are to be able to work together with the professionals or experts who are actually going to use the final solutions. Okay, so I think I've talked a lot about this area of my research, which is how we can use machine learning to aid healthcare, or in particular to aid analysis of medical data. So the last example I want to give you is basically how we can use models to understand the behaviors, or behaviors not just from humans, but in this case from animals as well. This last example actually is a recent collaboration between our group and a group in China. So they actually did the bulk of the work. So we actually only participate the human side of the project. So we analyze the human side of the data. This is try to find a computational model that can explain the decision making, the strategic decision making, both in humans and animals. So in this case, the animal refers to rhesus monkeys. When the subjects were playing Pac-Man, okay? So I don't know how many of you have played Pac-Man, but for older generation, I'm pretty sure this is very familiar to you. So in the Pac-Man game, as you can see on the right, so you have a Pac-Man which eats all the beans to get points. But at the same time, you need to avoid the ghosts, right? The ghosts are the ones that are walking around like this. And from time on the kind of in the maze, right, there are bigger kind of dots here. Those are energizers, right? So every time the Pac-Man eats energizer, the ghost goes into a scared mode. So the ghost actually will change from chasing you to running away from the player. But during when the ghosts are scared, right? So the Pac-Man actually can eat the ghost. So this essentially is the game, and the game requires the player to clean the whole maze, to eat all the beads, and to maximize the reward, essentially. So this is the, if you think about this, right, this is very complex strategic decision making because. So by the way, the video you're seeing on the right, this is me playing Pac-Man. So I'm not a very good player on this. In order to solve this problem, it needs both immediate actions. Right? I need to control the Pac-Man to go up and down, left and right. But at the same time, the player must have a long-term planning. Right? So I need to have some strategic planning where I want the Pac-Man to go in order to clear the entire maze. And so our collaborators in China, so they have been trying this paradigm on rhesus monkeys for many years. They have demonstrated successfully that even for monkeys, after many months of training, the monkeys actually can do it. But of course, humans can learn this very fast as well. So we want a model that can explain how, what is our decision-making behavior, essentially, during Pac-Man playing, and whether the model allows us to predict where the subject is going to go, going to move the Pac-Man from the current state. Because of time, I won't go into any details. The paper just published, I think, this month. And if anyone is interested, please do feel free to read the paper. I just want to get the main essence of this model, which I think some of you may find it useful. So essentially, the theory or the model we want to put forward is that we believe during playing Pac-Man, or essentially many other games that require strategic decision-making, relies on a hierarchical structure. Okay, so what is the hierarchy here? So on the basic hierarchy, as I mentioned earlier, we need to control, or the player needs to control the Pac-Man to go left or right, up and down, right? Those are only 4 possible actions. But those actions are the lowest level of the hierarchy, okay? Because if we only focus on the action, we will never be able to have a model that can explain the decision strategy or the long-term plan of the players. So sitting on top of the action, we propose there are actually individual different strategies or how the Pac-Man should approach the maze, how it can solve the maze, given the current state of the maze. And the state actually is changing over time from the initial state to the goal state where the Pac-Man eats all the available points in the maze. So those individual strategies, there can be many of them. So in the paper, we propose there are 5 or 7 of them. But we also propose there are some underlying kind of inherent grammar which govern the order of the strategies. What does it mean? When we control a Pac-Man, right? So the strategy may be we need to move the Pac-Man to the energizer and to eat it so that we can eat all the ghosts when they were scared, right? So this suggests a strategy needs to be concatenated to the point that we can maximize the reward. So in order to do that, what we need is to combine several strategies together. So here could be we approach the energizer. So here the EN stands for energizer. Then we go to approach. So we approach the ghost. So the grammar basically dictates how the player joins multiple strategies over time together to deal with the question strategically. So essentially, there's 3 layers or 3 hierarchies of planning. So immediate actions, the strategies that govern actions, and longer-term grammar that governs strategies. And again, won't go into detail because of time, but so here we actually test this model. So the model actually fits a very simple maximized likelihood fitting to the individual data, the data being the game states per frame. That is, where are the ghosts, where are the player, how many points available. So this is kind of the state changed over time throughout the game. And at the same time, the actions the player taking over time, so up and down, left and right. So it fit this hierarchical model I mentioned earlier to individual players' data. And here with 6 kind of strategies highlighted here. So it can be local, means the player focusing on the points available close to the Pac-Man. Global means the player focus the points away from the Pac-Man current position. Evade, running away from a ghost. Approach means getting closer to the ghost. So basically, what I want to say is this is the kind of a grammar. So this is how subjects combine strategies together to play the game strategically. So here on the 2 on the left are actually monkeys, result from monkeys. The 2 on the right are from humans. The humans they never played Pac-Man versus the humans that are very good at Pac-Man. What you can see here is the fitted model suggests that as the participant becomes or subject becomes better in the game, they have more and more complex, i.e. longer and longer grammars, which are used to plan the game or plan the strategy to play the game. And this is not just a kind of regression of the observed data, because the complexity, that is the length of the grammar, actually correlate with the game performance. Right? So if across humans and animals, if a subject has a more complex grammar, i.e. longer grammar, they have a higher total score as well as a shorter reaction time. So people actually, or subjects actually played faster if their grammar is more complex. And I believe this is the final result from my slides. This is, as I mentioned earlier, in order to train monkeys to do this task, it takes months of effort. And the group in China, actually what they did is they trained the monkeys over 3 years. What you can see here is the complexity of the grammar, how complex their grammar length is, actually evolves or increases over years. So this is from year 1, year 2, year 3 for 2 monkeys. So as the monkey learns the game over years, the strategy becomes more and more complex. Okay, and finally, it's just a direct application of the model. So here, what you can see in the video here on the right is the model after fitting can predict or can infer what strategy the player actually is using from on a frame-by-frame basis, right? So I'll just replay this again so you can see. So the beginning is local, then it goes to energizer. So you can see the energizer has been highlighted. So each energizer, then it also go back to the local mode. So just clean all the local points available. And towards the end, it goes to the energizers. Therefore, the energizer strategy becomes activated again. So this is basically how the model can be used to infer from frame to frame the current strategy that has been used, which is governed by a top-level grammar. Okay, so this is basically just one example that how we can use this. So the last example is not standard machine learning, but how we can literally fit hierarchical models to complex data from both humans and animals. But the fitted model does allow us to draw inferences on the strategies that the subjects use from time to time. And with that, I think I will stop here, and thank you all for your attention. And I would like to thank all my lab members here at the Swansea University, also Cardiff University. In particular, I would like to mention support from the Institute of Neuroscience from China, where the Pac-Man study has conducted. And thank you very much. And I think there are a few minutes if there are any questions from the audience.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Sang. Anyone in the audience got any questions, please? No questions? Okay, perfect. It seems like they don't have any questions, but thank you again for your time, and also it was a very interesting presentation. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the conference. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Hello. Professor Zhang, on behalf of staff, students, and management of Mangalore University, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude for your enlightening session on human decision making in the era of artificial intelligence. Your expertise and insights have gratefully inspired and motivated us. We sincerely appreciate the time and effort you dedicated to sharing your knowledge. Thanks to sir. I would also like to take this opportunity to request our co-convener, Dr. B.H. Shekhar, to present a memento to Dr. Vibhushani as a token of our gratitude and appreciation.
I now invite paper ID 062, Rohan S. Kumar, to please present his paper.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rohan S. Kumar from Presidency University. I'm studying third year engineering. I'm going to present about our research paper, Novel Approach for Multi-Class Colon Cancer Detection using Convolutional Neural Networks. So colon cancer, it is also known as colorectal cancer. It is one of the most leading cancers in the world. It is second leading cancer, and it's the third most diagnosed cancer in the world. So many people are dying due to this, and this cancer is due to lifestyle, like alcohol, a lot of alcohol abuse, smoking, and the diet. Like if you have a lot of junk food, it leads to colon cancer. And many people, they don't know about colon cancer, like whether they have it or not. And this is like more than the 10% in the whole world. So it usually starts like non-cancerous polyps, like small extra tissue growth in the stomach or colon. Colon is nothing but the large intestine. So in 2020, in Globocon, around 1.9 million new cases were found, and 9,35,000 deaths. So it's like a huge number. And maybe in the next few years, in 2030, there may be even more deaths. So it's better to take early precautions by detecting whether we have cancer or not. So as I said, these are the factors which leads to it. So it's also genetically caused as well. So these are the related works. So the first paper, they have got an accuracy of 87.7%, 93%, and 96%, and so on. And if you see the sixth one, it is like 99.6%, 67%. It's actually high. But our proposed model has achieved the highest accuracy of 99.74%, which is a very nice accuracy. This is our proposed methodology. We are using efficient net B0, and this is the input data which is going to be fed to the model. So first we clean the data and then pre-process it. Then we pass this data to the model and we train it. And later there'll be different layers, like the flattened layer, fully connected layers, and the output layer, and it results into the different classes. So we have used 8 classes over here. So and the total number of data sets which we have used is 5,880 images of histopathology, which is the tissue level images. And we have collected the data set from zenoda.org. The 8 classes are debris, background, lymphocytes, mucosa, muscle, normal tissues, trauma, and tumor tissues. So we are using 7 different types of tissues and 1 normal tissue. So we have split the data set into 80% training and 20% of testing. So you can see the images of the data set. So if you see the first column, that is background images of the tissue. And the second one is, first one is background, and second one is debris, and it follows. So these are some sample images which we have presented over here. So next, we have used data pre-processing. There are 4 data pre-processing steps which we have used. Image resizing, normalization, data augmentation, and label encoding. So image resizing, we have resized the image into a fixed dimension so that it will be easy for the model to train and classify. So we have made it into 224 into 224 pixels, and we have normalized the pixel values to a range of 0 to 1 in binary form. So in data augmentation, this reduces overfitting. So we have like used data augmentation so that we can see different angles of the images so that it extracts feature in a better way and concentrates on the main features in the image. And label encoding is used over here to label the images in binary vectors so that it will be easier for the model to understand quickly. Yeah. So this is our model architecture. We have used 455 layers, And we have used EfficientNet B0 as the base layer, and yeah, so we have used the convolutional layer, ReLU function. So for the hidden layers, we have used the ReLU function. So ReLU function, it is commonly used in the multi-class classification, and it converges very quickly. And it is usually used for multiple layers, so that the computational process is quickly performed, and the training is completed in a shorter duration. So we have used global average pooling, and we have used dropout layers, fully connected layers, and softmax layer in the output layer, so that it classifies a single class out of the 8 classes. So these are the hyperparameters which we have used. So we have run the model for 100 epochs, batch size of 16, and learning rate of 0.0001, activation function, as I said, ReLU and softmax, and optimizer Adam. So we have actually fine-tuned the hyperparameters to get an optimized result of 99.74%. So yeah, here coming to the experimental results, so this is our accuracy curve and loss curve. And this is the confusion matrix. So if you can see, if you see the principal diagonal, it is matching the true labels with the predicted labels correctly, and it is very precise. It hardly has errors or loss. And this is the ROC curve. So we have also trained other models like DenseNet 121, MobileNet V2, ResNet 50, and others. And we have also used ensemble modeling. So ensemble model is nothing but combining more than one model to get better accuracy and performance. So these are the accuracies which we have got, if you can see here, the last column, and these are the precision recall, F1 score, support. So we have got like around 98.64, 98.989 for the ensemble models, and our proposed model has got the highest accuracy because, as I said, we have fine-tuned the hyperparameters. So we have got 99.74. So this is our classification report. And yeah, so our proposed model, it is a proposed model classifies these 8 classes correctly and more precise if you compare to the other models which we have used, and it has actually outperformed other models way better. So as I said, even this even the accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score is high, and we can use this model in the medical field so that patients can get to know whether they have cancer or not at an early stage and take the right precautions at the right time. So yeah, I would like to conclude that by using this EfficientNet B0, we can easily classify the colon cancer tissues, and we can check whether we have it or not. And this is because of the pre-processing steps, as I told, like data augmentation, so that it focuses on the required features and does not focus much on the unwanted features. Yeah, and even the validation is very high. And these are the references which we have referred. So in our future work, we would be improving our ensemble model hyperparameters like the learning rate and just a minute. Okay, so we'll be improving our hyperparameters like the learning rate, batch size, so that we get better accuracy, and which would be very efficient in the medical field. So yeah, I would say we can use this EfficientNet B0 model for colon cancer detection. Thank you so much, guys. And I would like to thank Mangalore University and Springer for giving me this precious opportunity to present our paper. Thank you.
Have you or any questions? Sorry. Have you or your team interacted with any doctors or hospitals who are treating colon cancer?
Actually, we haven't contacted them yet.
My question is, have you understood the requirement before taking up this?
Yes, we have used this because even my dad's friend, he's from Canada, and he was diagnosed with colon cancer disease recently, and he passed away at the age of 55 at a very young age. So that's why we took up this initiative to classify these models effectively, because there are existing models as well, but we wanted to do in an efficient approach, and we have collected it from Zenoda, so it is already verified. Already the images which are there in the website are verified, and it is published.
My last question is, normally whenever you are, whatever instance you are told,
Yes.
that means you want to convert your this part into a product, right?
Right.
So it is better always to interact with the doctor or
Yeah.
the hospital to understand the requirement. So in future you or anyone who is continuing this project can give it as a product to the company.
Yes, we'll be doing this in the future work. So this is our initial stage, and in future we'll be contacting different doctors and even the patients as well, and improving the model. Yep. Yes. Sir.
Well, as I said, you need to do little survey before taking up any problem, because you need to understand patient, how they are feeling and how doctors are treating the particular disease. You need to understand. And I have one question. When you talk about data pre-processing, your proposed model.
Yes.
What was your normalization method and resizing of this image? Whether these are all steps have been done manually or you have written any scripts?
We have actually done it manually through the code. So, like before taking up this input data set, we manually did this and then performed it.
Any one library which you have taken help to normalize?
Like, so in the pre-processing part, my friend helped me out, Bhargav. So, and in the training part, I've worked. So you can ask him. Yes. Yes, it is. He's an author. Yeah.
You need not take up that question. It's okay, we can
Yeah, yeah. Because see, mainly I focused on the other parts, and we have worked in a team. So pre-processing part he has been done. Yeah. Yes, it is a real data. So as I told, we have collected from the Zenoda.org. So they have already published their paper, and their data set is valid. So we have taken some data set from them and then tried to optimize the performance of our model through it. 5,880 images. Like we have taken from like few patients, and these are all at the histopathological level, which is the tissue level. Yeah. Like?
Let's say you have divided the entire data set which you have taken from the source, tested, train and tested. So after building model, any new instances have been tested?
Like, could you give an example?
Other than the images which are available in the data.
Live testing. So currently, as I told, we have used on these data sets, and we would be working on a larger data set of like 50,000 or others.
To
Yeah, train the model. We have actually used a different data set as well, a smaller data set of around 3,000 images, and we have also got the results. So yeah, we'll be working on larger data set. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, yes. Hmm. Yes. Okay, so that is the validation accuracy. So when you train the epochs, we have trained it for 100 epochs. So there'll be accuracy, loss, validation accuracy, and validation loss. So after training 100 epochs, the model has learned well, and it has worked on the test data set, and it has got 99.74% accuracy. It means that it has learned so much, so well. Yeah. So it's like, as I told, precision, recall, F1 score. So you can see a precision, recall, F1 score support. Through this, we are going to identify. So we have taken a classification report. Yeah, this is the data. Any other questions? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rohan. The next paper presentation is by Ms. Rashmi Amin, paper ID 54.
Good afternoon, everyone and sirs. Myself Rashmi, and under the guidance of Dr. B.S. Shekhar, so I am presenting this paper titled Comparison of Graph-Based Deep Learning Models for NO2 Air Quality Prediction. So air quality is actually, there's a condition of the air that we breathe. So that plays a crucial role in environmental sustainability and public health. Poor air quality leads to several health issues like respiratory issues or heart disease or any premature death. So ensuring a good quality of air is very important in maintaining human well-being as well as preserving natural resources. Among the various pollutants that affect the air pollution, so nitrogen dioxide is one of the pollutants that is also playing a significant role since it is widespread presence and adverse impact in human health. And this NO2 is primarily emitted from vehicles, power plant and industrial activity, making it a critical concern, especially in urban areas. And prolonged exposure to this NO2 actually leads to several respiratory diseases or lung diseases. That's why the real-time prediction of this NO2 will help in taking some action at least in certain region where there is more pollution. So from this, we thought of developing a model that is forecasting this NO2 level accurately because of this rising amount of pollution caused by NO2. And the prediction model can also be used here. That's because of this, at least public will get to know what is actual the range of or the current value of NO2. And along with the total air pollution, including NO2 level, is actually influenced by spatially distributed resources. Graph-based models are well suited to capture these spatial dependencies. And as a motivation, we also take that this NO2 level is actually varying over the time period. So graph-based models are capturing not only this spatial as well as temporal air quality patterns. And apart from this even, so we are not only concentrating on the overall air pollution or the air quality, we also have a concentration on city level air quality prediction. And one more the factor that is contributing to this is availability of large data set, which is including not only pollutant data, even meteorological data. Here are the different, from the different paper, we came to a conclusion that there are several models that are developed by using machine learning and deep learning, that is to increase the prediction of different models' accuracy. And out of the papers, even there are some graph-based the models that is built to predict the air quality NO2 level. That is one among that is attention temporal graph convolution network, which is actually combining gated recurrent unit, which is a variant of recurrent neural network and graph convolution network for the quality of NO2 level, as well as ensemble machine learning model that combines the multiple techniques of deep learning as well as machine learning. So this is the proposed methodology. So here we have taken data from Central Pollution Control Board. The data is actually taken from the time period 2017 to 2020 for the cities, 3 cities of Delhi. Original data set actually contains nearly 1,10,000 total data, which is containing actually 14 features, 14 that is air pollutant as well as meteorological factors. But out of that, we have extracted only few. That is, in data pre-processing, we felt that some of the features were found with the missing value, as well as some of records were missing for particular day, because we have taken here every hour's data. So as well as in the data pre-processing, even date conversion, that is to maintain some standardized date method, as well as overall actually except for the city data, rest everything was in the numerical format. So maintain numerical format, we also have converted the city to numerical data by using this label encoding method. This is the original data set. And this table actually that gives the NO2 level, that is for 24 hour, based on these categories. So this data is taken from the standardized AQI table, from good to severe is extracted from that. And this result is obtained from our analysis, where along with the NO2 as well, even other meteorological data is also taken here, that is from year 2017 to 2020, where here we can observe that the NO2 level, there's a mean value is actually taken, that is from 61 to 48, it is actually decreasing. But maximum it has gone up to 497. That is from this table we can see when it is going above 400 means it is severe. But mean value is in the on an average the average range. Then atmospheric temperature, relative humidity, and wind direction, everything is almost on a stable level except for wind speed. So here the feature selection we have taken actually Pearson correlation method, that is to see the relationship between NO2 with other meteorological data. And the data splitting was done for training and testing, that is with the ratio 80 and 20%. And we have used graph neural network, two of the method, that is graph convolution network and spatial graph convolution network. Here the difference is actually in the graph neural network, the graph is formed from whatever numeric data is given. The graph is constructed which consists of node, edge and feature. So node is formed by actually taking the number of cities and the number of days. So altogether the node is formed, and edge actually forms a relationship between the different nodes, and the feature is actually describes the individual node. And each node exchanged by using the message passing, that is aggregating the value of its neighboring node. So in convolution neural network, what we have seen is it is actually designed to operate on a graph structured data, and it performs the convolution like operation, that is like aggregating the value. So here we can see the structure to this model, and even for structure of the overall region or the entire city data. So these are the different paper that we have referred.
Thank you. Good presentation. I have many questions to ask, but I'll ask only 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
We'll go back. We'll go back to the slide where you mentioned data conversion, data encoding. Fine. When we are telling removing missing data, data conversion, label encoding, what do you mean by that?
Actually, we have managed with the missing data by performing other method where where I missed this slide.
Yeah.
Soft now.
So, what do you mean by missing data in your context?
Missing data means actually we have taken data of every days, every hour data, and that was not found.
2017 to 20.
Yes, sir.
Why only Anand Vihar?
Because we actually overall when I have seen those cities were having more pollutions, so some cities data were taken.
What was the parameter you referred or this one benchmarks were taken for this analysis?
Every pollutants relationship other pollutants were observed, and only some those are actually contributing to NO2 level, that is.
Have you gone to the website called or the board called as Central Pollution Control?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Have you gone through it?
Yes, yes.
And
This data is taken from there.
Yeah, taken from there. In that, have you seen air quality?
Yes, sir.
Control, yes. When you see the data which you received from 2007 to 20
Yeah.
will differ a lot when it comes to 2023, 24.
Yes.
So what was the main reason for you to take that particular data?
Those years that I already started with the analysis.
Fine, fine. But is it correlating with the present whatever
The current year that I have not seen, sir.
that needs to be seen, because whenever
Okay.
you are recommending your this one work or the research,
Okay.
it has to be the much relevant to the
Yes.
present times. Otherwise, it will be one of the your work will be one of the literature review for another person.
Correct.
And the real value it needs to
Okay.
stand upon. So that is my suggestion, please.
Okay, sir.
You have collected the data from the source.
Yes.
So was it in the CSV format?
Yes, sir.
Could you please elaborate how CSV format data set
Huh.
is converted into a graph data set?
Actually, the notes are taken based on the number of cities and number of days that I have considered.
So the raw things will be there in the data set.
Yeah.
Now your model accepts only a graph-based data set, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
So how CSV
That is by using PyTorch, the geometric one of the method. It converts separately the nodes and its related edges. So edge list and node list will be formed, and from that the graph is made based on the requirement.
CSV file will be represented as
Those datas are taken, CSV file datas are taken.
so when any reason motivation behind solving this problem?
Because actually the thing is we're interested in seeing the spatially related data. If there is pollution in one region, how it is affecting the nearby or neighbor regions. Yes, I have seen one of the paper, the similar one was there.
Have you worked through?
Oh yes, sir, I have done that.
Can you elaborate one case study?
Is it? I mean, it was similar, but not predicting NO2 level. So that made me to at least apply.
We are not asking whether you have gone through the case study.
Okay.
What we are asking is, have you done any case study?
Yeah. No, no, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite Safnaz to present her paper. Her paper ID is 051.
Where is Sapnas? So ma'am, is it on? ಇದು ನೋಡು ಇದು ನೋಡು ಅದು ಇದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Safnaz. I am here to present my paper, that is enhanced watermark text classification using the extended MobileNet V2 model. It is a critical task. Here I am doing classification of the watermarked and non-watermarked text using the extended MobileNet V2 model. So here it is a critical task for digital content authenticity and copyright protection. So introduction. Watermark is a transparent message, generally a logo or stamp or signature that is placed onto the image, audio, video or any document. So these are merely patterns or graphics, or it can be a text that the owner or producer inserts into an image. Then we can say it as it is a digital markers which includes the protecting intellectual property and preventing the unauthorized use. So these are the examples for the watermark text images. Here watermark text are there in a natural scene images. So these are the watermark text in the image. So while watermarks are effective in protecting intellectual property, the challenges lies in detection and classification of the watermark and non-watermarked content. So in some cases, individual may attempt to remove the watermarks to use or distribute the content without the owner's permission. So developing robust algorithm or method for accurately classifying the watermarked or non-watermarked text is crucial in maintaining the integrity of digital content and protecting the rights of the content creators. So these are the examples for the watermarked text and non-watermarked text images. So here, while task of detecting the watermark text and classifying the watermark text in natural scene images, it has great importance. Also it comes with some of the challenges. So these are the challenges. It may be a text color, text size or hazy effects, cluttered background or image with the normal text and watermark text. So then applications, digital copyright protection, then content authentication, it verifies the integrity of the multimedia files, branding and ownership identification which associates the media with the rightful owners, then digital forensics which, okay, these are the so after taking the input images, we are pre-processing. So here I have used pre-processing. One is image resizing. The input images are resized to fixed size, that is 224 into 224 pixels to match the input dimensions required by the MobileNet V2 model. Then cropping is done, which is to remove the irrelevant part of the image and focus on the watermark text. Then normalization, the pixel values of the image are normalized to a range of 0, 1, ensuring uniform input for the model. Then here we have used the base model MobileNet V2 as a base architecture which is known for its efficient use of depth-wise separable convolution. Also it reduces the computational complexity while maintaining the accuracy. Then also we have used the ImageNet weights which are transfer learning, which allows the model to leverage the features learned from the large diverse data set, which is ImageNet data set, to improve the performance with the limited data for watermark classification. This is the architecture of our proposed methodology. Then here we have extended the custom layers of base model MobileNet V2. So after base model, global average pooling is used. Also dense-net 128, dense 256 used with a ReLU activation. Then data set, we have taken the data set from the Kaggle, which has 12,000 images, but for our experimental purpose we have taken only 3,000 images, and we have taken 80 into 20%, 80% for training and 20% for the testing. Then we have used evaluation matrix, that is accuracy, precision, recall and F1 score. Then here the result of the MobileNet model is MobileNet V2 model is 87.62, precision is 83.45, recall is 89, F1 score is 88, but we have added some dense layer. We have extended the MobileNet V2 model, so the accuracy is improved, 92.44, precision is 89.96, recall is 95.56 and F1 score is 92.67. So here we have done the extended MobileNet V2 model for classification of the watermarked and non-watermarked text images from natural scene images, which includes the additional dense layers, dropout regulations and modifications to the output layer significantly to improve the feature extraction, classification accuracy and reduce the overfitting. So this work highlights the robustness and potential of the extended MobileNet V2 model for watermark classification task and similar images classification challenges. In future, we can detect and recognize those watermark text from the natural scene images after classification. So these are the references. Thank you. Sir, there are many works has been done in normal text detection and normal text classification, but only few work has been done in classification of watermarked and non-watermarked text. Only few is also not there, that's why. A few is also not there, that's why. Water classification. I have not seen classification of watermark text. So, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Safnaz. As we now come to the end of the afternoon presentation session, I thank the session chairs for their gracious presence, as well as the resourceful inputs they have provided for the participants. I request Professor A.M. Khan sir to present a memento as a token of appreciation to Dr. Basappa Kodada and Dr. Manoj Gadiar.
Let me introduce to you Dr. Lika Nawaf. She is a senior lecturer and research leader in the field of cybersecurity, program director for the MSc Advanced Cybersecurity and BSc Applied Cybersecurity apprentices with the School of Technologies at Cardiff Metropolitan University, and a co-leader of Cybersecurity and Information Network Center. Dr. Nawaf is an expert in networks, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. She is particularly interested in understanding how AI techniques could be used to support in distributed systems and cybersecurity, and the use of these techniques in various application areas. She is the founding member of Women in Cyber Society at CMU and active member of Women in Cyber Wales cluster in UK. As one of the women members of CMU staff working in the discipline of cybersecurity, Dr. Nawaf has been successful in securing a number of externally funded projects exploring different aspects of cybersecurity. The latest project is Partnership of Education and Research program for Women in Cyber funded by British Council UK Saudi Challenge Fund program. Dr. Nawab supervises a number of PhD students in the areas of AI, networks, and cyber security. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me back? Yes? Hello, Shami? Mike, can you hear me? Is he flying?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just would like to introduce to you guys, first I would like, good afternoon here, and I know it's been a hectic day for you, it's been very long. So Cardiff just started back there, back in Wales. It's just the beginning of the day for them. So let me introduce Mike, Mr. Mike Edward, the Global Technical Training Lead Digital Trust. Mike Edward has been involved in digital trust standards for over 20 years, as well as developing and supporting ISO 27001 management systems. He was involved in developing information security campaign and running information security assurance teams in the Royal Navy. Having been with the BSI for 12 years, he has a number of roles, including training, delivery, global in standards, including ISO 27001, ISO 27701, and ISO 22301. For the last 4 years, Mike has been responsible for lead the global training portfolio for BSI and has been instrumental in developing of BSI AI standards training offering. The title talk today for is Governance in AI Ensuring Responsible Use of Artificial Intelligence Technology through the Standards. So welcome, Mike, and all yours, the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Luca. So first of all, can everyone see my slides and can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. It's all good.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So hello everyone. First of all, thank you very much indeed for inviting me along just to give you an introduction into, I think, a real key part of how we as exponents and practitioners within the AI space start to increase the trust amongst individuals and groups of individuals and societies on the use of AI moving forward. We're going to look at this through the eyes of standards. So what I wanted to do is just to give you a little bit of an overview as to who BSI are, what our role is in relation to international standards, and introduce you to this wider ecosystem. So I want to look at standards and how they can help to assure organizations and other stakeholders in the role that they play within the AI system lifecycle. It's then looking at understanding how organizations are using AI and what the associated risks for organizations are in relation to that. And then we're going to have a quick look at the AI system lifecycle as it's described within the ISO fraternity, and also looking at who those AI stakeholders are and how, excuse me, the AI standards that have been created and are being created can support organizations to be able to demonstrate that responsible use of artificial intelligence. And then I just want to take you through just a small journey on how an organization can use some of these standards to be able to demonstrate their conformity with the standards, and how using a variety of different frameworks and mechanisms can help to provide that confidence to the marketplace and to be able to demonstrate that responsible use. So, who are we? So, the British Standards Institution, we've been around in one shape or form for over 120 years. We are a non-profit or a not-for-profit organisation. We are the United Kingdom's national standards body, which in essence means that we curate standards on everything from how to make a cup of tea all the way through to understanding and testing the robustness of an AI system and everything in between. Okay, we are not part of government in the UK, but we have a memorandum of understanding with the UK government, and we are here to support organisations throughout the UK in being able to achieve their potential. We will look at what the concerns are of organisations and of industry, and help to manage those concerns and those risks through the curation of different standards. These can be national standards that are looking very much at industry within the UK, but then we also support these international standards. So ISO is the International Organization for Standardization, and we were one of the founding members of ISO to support the development of international best practice. So we don't just look at what's good for the UK, but absolutely we're looking to see how the best practices that we curate and other countries around the world can be merged together to provide an international best practice. And what we obviously, I think we can all agree, is that AI is a force for good. There are so many opportunities that it presents to the individual, to society, to organisations. And what BSI want to do is, through the use of standards, is to be able to harness the opportunity whilst recognising and understanding that there are risks, and those risks need to be managed to a level that is acceptable to various stakeholders. One of the ways that standards can help is through developing a platform for openness and transparency. We know that in society at large quite often find a level of mistrust when it comes to artificial intelligence. And what standards can do is they can help to break down those barriers, break down those concerns, and allow organisations to take the great work that you do in developing the AI models and algorithms, and actually demonstrate that the way in which, as an organisation, I am either developing this AI, I am incorporating these algorithms or models into the products or services that I deliver, or the way in which I use that AI within my organisation is being done in a controlled and responsible manner. And so I mentioned there that there's, I guess, some concerns, okay? And I guess it's not helped when Elon Musk comes up with comments like this, yeah? So we're summoning the demon, and even when we're looking at from a far more intellectual perspective, okay? Professor Stephen Hawking, the development of full AI could spell the end of the human race. I don't think we're there yet. But what we need to be able to do, as we say, is to be able to allay those fears, allay those concerns. And that's, as I say, is really what our standards are trying to help us to be able to do. So our standards are there to support organisations, is to support economies, and to allow for that digital economic growth. It was mentioned in my introduction there that I've been in and around sort of these international standards for over 20 years. And originally there was what we called the quality management system, ISO 9001, and it was about how an organisation can deliver a consistent, repeatable delivery of their products and services to their customers. And it was all about the product. It was all about that tangible item that we purchase, be it from a supplier or going down to our local store and purchasing it ourselves. If we move forward now 20 years, absolutely, yeah, one of the key commodities is information, is data. And we are in this digital economic society. And to allow organizations to perform at their best, to perform at their optimum, to facilitate trade, we need to be able to harness and provide that level of, as is in my job title, digital trust, trust in the digital environment. I've spoken about the fact that AI presents great opportunities. One of those, okay, is about being able to innovate at a far greater rate, probably at any time since the Industrial Revolution, yeah, nearly 200 years ago. So we have these opportunities, but we need to be able to ensure that we are managing that with responsible and sustainable development. So it's about building trust in digital systems. And the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report from 2022 identified and recognized that digital trust is a currency. Okay, and that's what is going to facilitate future innovation and future prosperity. But we need to improve the trust. And we're going to improve that trust through intentional and persistent initiatives. And this is where our standards come in, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, our standards, our frameworks can help to develop that trust, that we are governing and that we are managing the delivery and use of artificial intelligence in that responsible manner. So let's have a look at how organisations are actually using it, because that helps us give us an insight as to where we need to concentrate our efforts when we're looking at that governance piece. Okay, the next 2 or 3 slides are taken from a Forbes report that was delivered about this time last year, looking at how organisations, particularly in the US, were looking to use AI in the near to medium term. And we can see that there's a lot of recognition as to how organisations can enhance and improve their client and customer facing processes and services through the use of AI, whilst also looking at how they can improve their internal processes, become more effective, become more efficient. And it's about how, as I say, how we do this under control and under control conditions. And what we know with organisations a lot of the time is that it's not just about me as an organisation. It's about understanding that I have a supply chain or a value chain that I need to consider, because within that supply chain, within that value chain, there will be risks. And we can absolutely recognise that in the world of AI. Okay, so how are my suppliers using AI to be able to deliver the product or service that I am going to then be delivering to my customer base and to my clients? So we need to ensure that we understand, we recognise the risk, and then think to ourselves, how can we manage that risk? We will never totally eradicate it, but we need to recognise that we will have suppliers in our chains that will be using artificial intelligence, and that may have a subsequent impact on the delivery of my product or service to my customer. And we need to remember that, because that then impacts my reputation. in my standing in the marketplace and in the sector. And just to give a couple of quick examples, so Zillow in the US were using an AI algorithm to try and estimate the future value of properties. There were some issues and some concerns with the algorithm where it appeared that the machine learning algorithm was overestimating the future value of properties, which means they were paying over the market value for properties, which led to cutting about 25% of the workforce. So what we need to think about here is when we're thinking about the responsible use of AI, we need to think about how will my use of the AI affect the individual 2,000 employees? How will that affect groups of individuals? How will it affect society? And this is one of the things that our standards will help us with. And then another just example to use around bias. So the Apple credit card, you may have seen this, Steve Wozniak, which I think was quite ironic, applied for one of the Apple credit cards, and he was given a substantially greater credit limit than his wife, even though when their financial details were exactly the same. And on investigation, it appears that the algorithm had been trained that ladies earn less money, therefore should get a smaller credit limit. So was the algorithm sexist? Is the question that came out in one of the news headlines back in 2022. But again, it impacts the reputation of the organisation. And so when we think on our risk, there are a multitude and a plethora of different risks that we need to think about that will not necessarily just be specific to AI. These are organizational risks, but it's the organization that is using the algorithm, using the model. So we need to consider how the use of that model can impact our organization, individual, groups of individuals, and society. So our standards are designed to do three things, or to ask three questions. Okay? When we're looking at the individual and societies, organizations have an obligation to ensure that the impact on those groups is minimized to an appropriate level. And we can do this through asking three questions of our AI and of our standards. Can I demonstrate that the AI is trustworthy? Is it going to do what it says it's going to do and nothing else? Is it ethical? Have I used appropriate training data? Have I is the provenance of that training data auditable? Can I demonstrate that I got it from an ethical source? That if I don't need to use personally identifiable information to train the AI, that I am minimizing personal data and so on. Has the AI being created in a sustainable manner? And is it transparent? Is there responsibility? Is there accountability that we can demonstrate throughout the life cycle of that AI system? We can show where decisions were made and the reason why decisions were taken or not, as the case may be. And so this is where our standards really do land. It's given organizations the opportunity to use internationally recognized best practice to be able to manage these questions in a consistent and repeatable manner. And standards forms, I guess, one of a triage of tools that are available to organizations. So if we look at standards, standards are voluntary. Organizations need to make the conscious decision that they require some form of demonstration against a benchmark that they are meeting a certain level. They're not necessarily embedded in regulation. They can be inferred sometimes. What we see is, and I want to go back to that supply chain issue and supply chain concern, that's where we see a lot of drive for standards, because organizations recognize that there needs to be some form of consistent framework that, regardless of whether we're in the UK, we're in India, we're in China, we're in the US, we're in Australia, we're in Europe, we've got a platform that we can all use. It allows for a consistent language. And this is one of the main benefits of adopting these standards. It gives us a level platform and a consistency regardless of where we are in the world. We operate internationally. We're doing it today. So why shouldn't we use a consistent, internationally recognized framework and platform that uses common language? Okay. I can implement and I can adopt a standard, but I am only as good as my word. I can tell you that I have implemented this management system, and I'll go through some of these for you in just a little while. But at this point, you only have my word. So what we also have, the next sort of like string to our bowl is assurance. Many of these international standards are certifiable. So organizations, a couple of the standards that were mentioned earlier, 27001 is the Information Security Management System Requirements Framework. So an organization who wishes to demonstrate their conformity to a framework to effectively manage confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information that is internationally recognized can do so through the use of ISO 27001. And they do that through having an independent third-party assessment on how they interpret the requirements of that particular standard and that particular framework. What the standards will do is they will provide you with what you need to do. Your organization or an organization has to determine how they're going to do it. Because if I am a sole trading individual digital trust consultant, my level of risk, my resources that are available to me are going to be completely different to a multinational tech organization such as Microsoft or AWS or whoever it might be. Okay? But what we can do with many of these standards is we can take what they're asking of us and apply it to what we call the context of our organization. It's just all going to be economies of scale. But we can all be assessed to say that you have met a minimum standard and you've got that completely separate, independent confirmation that you're doing what is expected of you. So that's kind of what we mean by assurance. And then we've got regulations. Now, quite often, when we look at management systems and standards, regulation, as we know, has to be fulfilled. And quite often, management system standards can be used to help and assist an organization in its compliance with a particular law or regulation. Now, obviously, within AI, we're probably still quite light when it comes to AI explicit regulation globally. Obviously, we've got the EU AI Act in Europe, but when we look at some of the other regulations that are out there that will, in order to, if you're using AI within that sphere or within that sector, then we need to think about how we fulfill the regulatory obligations through the use of AI in that sector. So if we're thinking like in the US, we have HIPAA in healthcare. If we are using personally identifiable information in an AI model, how is that being managed effectively? Okay. When we look at the EU AI Act, there are certain AI that is deemed as high risk, and what the Act requires you to do if you are using AI in such a manner is that you have a quality management system in place. It doesn't explicitly refer to a particular ISO standard, but it says you need to have some form of quality management system in place. And management systems is really what ISO is all about. So when we're looking at this ecosystem, we review this through the eyes of, and when we're looking at a management system standards, through the AI system lifecycle. There's quite a few of these. The OECD have one. This one has come from one of the ISO standards, ISO 22989. And what we look at is what a lot of our standards ask us to do is to asks you as an organization to identify where you are within the AI system lifecycle. What is it that you do, and which of these elements, such as transparency and explainability, security and privacy, governance, will affect you and when, depending on where you see yourself within the AI system lifecycle. So it's a really good place to start. And then it asks us to think about what is our role? What is our role within the AI system lifecycle? And based on my role and where I am in this AI system lifecycle, what are my responsibilities when it comes to just delivering responsible AI? Thinking about my the ethics, the trustworthiness, the transparency. And what's really important to think about as well, everybody, is when we're looking at managing AI, when we're looking at governing AI, I'm not necessarily going to be an AI technical expert. And I think this is a really important thing. And this is where we need to think about what our management systems are designed to do. Predominantly, they are there to manage the risk of AI within your organization. These are organizational level frameworks. We've got some technical ones, and I'll give you some example of those. But predominantly we're looking at, if the AI fails, the potential for the business to fail. Think back to the Zillow example. Yeah. So we need to ensure that we recognize that people that aren't necessarily technical are going to have an involvement in managing that AI risk. Okay? So just to give you an example, and remember I used the term context of the organization. Every organization is going to be different. But imagine that we've got a bank, okay? They are using an AI chatbot that gathers information from clients that are seeking loans. Okay? There are going to be people within the organization that will need to manage that. Okay? Now, I've mentioned that in there that they already have 27,001, and the reason why is one of the new standards that we have, ISO 42001, is very, very similar to information security management. And what we're seeing is a lot of organizations who are certified to 27001 also see the advantage of maybe having what we call an AI management system, which is ISO 42001. But in order to manage the AI management system, as you can see, everyone needs to have an awareness that they have this management system in place. Whether you're working on reception or you are one of the data scientists, you need to have an understanding of you have a role to play. The organization is within that AI system lifecycle, and we all need to understand the role that we have. I've referenced the standard there, ISO 22989. So this is the AI concepts and definitions according to ISO. So for many people, yeah, and again, listening to some of the presentations before I started, yeah, and we're talking about neural networks and machine learning, and many people within an organization will not know what these things are. Not everybody needs to know what these things are, but some will. If we've got our senior leadership team and our key managers, if they are involved in the managing of AI and making decisions based on risk, they need to understand the concepts. Okay? If we're going to implement a management system, then we need to have people with the necessary understanding of the requirements of our various standards that's going to allow us to effectively implement and manage and maintain that framework. We need to be able to assess our effectiveness to make sure we're doing what we say we're going to be doing through audit. And we have got these technical standards as well that I've been talking about, that maybe some of our AI engineers or our data scientists might want to allow for a bit of consistency when it comes to language when you're dealing with external stakeholders. So what we're trying to say is this is a technical subject that potentially is going to be managed and governed through people that don't have that technical expertise. But our standards can help us through providing that level playing field and understanding, a basic understanding and a consistent use of language. So as I say, we've got some more technical standards. And depending on where we are and what our organizational needs are, we can have advice and guidance on how we manage bias within an AI system. We can look at how we ensure trustworthiness in the use of our AI system. Obviously, it all starts with the data. So there's a family, there's a suite of these management systems, these standards and these frameworks that will provide guidance on how we govern the use of AI based on the quality of the data, looking at how we assess the performance of the machine learning based on the quality of the data that we are using to train the model with, okay, to train the algorithm with. So we've got a multiple of different standards here. Now these are what we call technical reports, technical specifications, and guidelines. Okay, so they're to act as a support, depending on thinking back to what is my role within the AI system lifecycle, and what is my position as an AI stakeholder and the role that I have. Okay, and these all help to feed into the effective management of AI. And what I'm going to do now is just take you through how an organization may wish to think about some of those considerations. So I mentioned this standard just briefly when we looked at that organizational map for ABC Bank. So 22989 is a standard that provides an overarching view and tries to explain in reasonably simple terms these complex issues. It starts with understanding what we mean by the AI system life cycle. So that diagram that I shared with you, that 7 stages, understanding what each of them mean and what they might entail for an organization. It talks about what we mean by machine learning, supervised and unsupervised and hybrid machine learning. It talks about what we mean in the realms of AI, what we mean by automated, semi-automated, automatic, and how it then applies to an organization and its use of AI. It talks about what we mean by bias in an AI system, robustness, trustworthiness. So all of these key concepts that as a stakeholder within the organization that has to make decisions regarding the responsible use of AI by that organization, they need to understand what these concepts are. They don't necessarily need the deep technical understanding that you good people, that's why they have you good people. But when you talk to these leaders and you talk to these managers, these risk owners, they can at least have some form of bearing and understanding on what it is that they need to do, and they can make informed decisions as a result. The standard that I talked to you about just a second ago, ISO 42001, this is a requirements standard. So organizations can implement and then have that independent assurance certification to it. ISO 22989 is seen as a normative reference to that standard, which basically means in order to be effective in implementing an AI management system, you need to understand the concepts in ISO 22989. So you really can't have one without the other. So it's a really great place for an organization looking to manage AI and to govern effectively its responsible use. It's a really great place to start. Once we have that level of understanding, we then need to think about how does our use of AI, our role within the AI system lifecycle, impact on individuals, groups of individuals, and society. And we need to look at that from both a positive and a negative viewpoint. And that's really, really important, everyone. Okay? When we speak about risk, we often think on risk from a negative perspective. But as we said, there are some fantastic opportunities for all of us through the use of artificial intelligence. So we need to harness that, but understand what these are, and as an organization, balance the benefit against the potential harm to individual groups of individuals and society. And what we have, and you'll notice here I've got DIS. Okay, so DIS is the draft international standard. Okay, so it isn't published as yet. Okay, it is currently under consultation. But what's really important is that we understand and that we appreciate that there is guidance to help organizations achieve a level of effectiveness in this really critical area when we're considering how we responsibly use AI. Okay, so as I say, as a draft at the moment, but it's certainly there, and organisations can look at it and help to put processes in place to allow them to deliver that. Okay. And so what we then have, if we consider an AI system impact assessment, is looking at impact from a 30,000 feet. Okay, so we're looking at this in rather high strategic terms. As an organization, we now need to think about what risks does our use of AI present to those impacts. So, for example, if we've identified we may be developing a health app, okay, to identify cancers. So obviously we can see where the benefits are there, okay, but what are the potential harm and impact to the individual or groups of individuals or society? Well, if we don't train the AI with a representative spread from different age groups, different ethnicities, and so on, there's the potential that we may misdiagnose because it won't identify a particular type of cancer because we haven't trained it. So we've got that unfairness and that bias that comes into it, which then has an impact on the individual, but then also has an impact on society because then if we can't if we don't identify the cancer early, then the risk is, or the impact is, that it's more treatment, longer treatment, more expensive treatment further downstream. Okay, so what risks does the organization curating this AI have? Okay, and what we've got is we've got a standard ISO 23894, which looks at AI risk management. So we can take this high level risk and then we can then manage, identify, evaluate, and treat our risks to a level that is acceptable to our organization. Okay, because remember, different organizations, depending on the context, the market that they're operating in, the regulatory considerations that they might have, will have different levels of risk and different risk appetites. Okay, but what we've got through understanding the concepts, where we are in the system life cycle, understanding how to identify what these positive and negative impacts are, we can then be in a position where we can identify those risks, positive and negative, yeah, to be able to be informed, okay, to have control on what it is that we're actually doing. Once we've identified our risk, what do we need to do? Well, we need to control it. And this standard ISO 42001 has got a set of risk controls. And we can use the controls and the guidance that those controls have within ISO 42001 to manage the risks of bias, the risk of a hacking into our model, whatever it might be. Yeah, availability of the AI model, or the algorithm, or the product or the service that incorporates the AI. Okay, so we can use these controls to manage the risks that have been identified by the organization to help us treat the risk, which will help to manage that impact that we've identified through our AI system impact assessment. And when we have all that, we can then apply that to our requirements framework. Okay, so ISO 42001. So of all of the 5 frameworks we have here, we're looking at 5 different sub-disciplines that an organization needs to understand and recognize and manage to effectively demonstrate the responsible use of AI, regardless of where they are in the AI system lifecycle and the role they play within it. Okay, so 42001, which was released about this time last year, okay, is the world's first AI management system. Okay. And I just wanted to highlight some of the scope. So this is the committee that wrote it, and just when we think about AI management systems or management systems in general, okay, they are developed by consensus. Okay, so it's really important to I think to recognise that. So BSI, as the national standards body, we have representatives from the UK that will look at what they believe needs to be in this management system. There will be representatives from India in the Indian national standards body, so the US, all around the world. So this is delivered by consensus, okay? And they want to talk to us. They want to let us know how to apply this framework, okay? And so just highlighting these parts. So this comes from the scope of the standard. So it's this technical committee talking to us, and it's saying, if you provide or use products or services that utilize AI, then you can use this framework to develop, provide, and use your systems responsibly. And what 42001 will do, it will provide that evidence, that assurance that you've done so in line with an agreed, internationally accepted best practice. They are always designed with every organization in mind. So as I say, you can be a sole trading software engineer developing AI algorithms and AI models at home. You can be Microsoft. You can take what the requirements are asking of you and apply it to your organization. So it's a powerful tool, everyone. We know that there is the need to ensure that the use of AI builds a level of trust. Okay? And through being able to demonstrate that you've done it responsibly, through not only looking at a set of sort of like one-line statements that you have to meet, but also thinking about it's an understanding through an ecosystem of frameworks of governance and understanding and standards. Okay, you can collectively within an organization ensure that you've got the skills and the knowledge to control. And this is, for me, is what it's about. It's about being able to demonstrate that you have the control and that you understand where things should go well, but where things might go wrong, and that you've got the necessary control in place to deal with that. Because what we're trying to say with standards, everybody, is that it is not a silver bullet. I'm not going to sit here and say to you, if an organisation implements 42001, that they will never have an issue with their use of artificial intelligence. But what I can tell you is that it will provide you with a set of processes that allows you to deal with things quicker when they do crop up, and hopefully the likelihood of an issue arising is greatly reduced, because you understand from an organizational perspective what needs to be done. And so I just want to go back to the three questions that we had at the beginning of this, everyone. Okay, using standards to help govern this responsible use of AI will hopefully allow us to demonstrate, not is it trustworthy, but it is trustworthy. Not is it ethical, it is ethical. Not is it transparent, it is transparent. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is really the power of these standards, to support organizations globally. So just to recap, just introduce you a little bit to who we are as BSI and the role that we play. I hope that you can appreciate the important role that standards and assurance can play in providing that trust, providing that transparency that will help to demonstrate the responsible use of the AI that is going to take industries and countries and organizations forward in the years to come. And fundamentally, it's all about using these standards to manage risk. Understand your risks, understand your role within the AI system lifecycle, understand that it's not just one single area that an organization needs to be proficient in. It's why we need this suite. It's like a state of the art of standards, because there are so many different permutations that an organization needs to manage, and it allows you to do so in a consistent manner, in a language that is understood globally, and provides organizations with that recognition of what good looks like and agreed best practice. So I'll just thank you very much indeed for your time, everybody, and just check to see if we've got any questions. Okay. Whiskies, thank you very much indeed for your time, everybody. I know certainly for our friends in India, it's coming to the end of your day, so thank you very much for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike, for the insightful and inspiring talk addressing the use of AI through the standard, which is a very important topic, especially for us in cybersecurity. So I think we have few questions. First, shall I go with Chami? Chami?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Lika. Thanks, Mike, for the very interesting talk. My question is around, some argue that these regulations and standards would curtail the research and development innovation in AI. What is your take on that?
I think the standards are designed to support innovation. I think what the standards try to recognise is that standards should be a business enabler, and I think that's what they're designed to do. I go back to that. Look at the flexibility that we have, certainly within something like 42001, where it asks you to look in on yourself as an organisation. What do you need? If you're entrepreneurial and you're looking at a small startup, for example, that want to advance in particular markets, then you're probably going to be a little bit more of a risk taker than maybe like somebody like BSI, for example. We're quite risk averse as an organisation. So you can look at the requirement of the standard and say, right, okay, I'm maybe going to have fewer controls around my research and development part, but what it's asking me to do is also recognise that as part of that R&D and the development of the AI, I do need to think about, as I'm developing it, well, what is the potential impact on what I'm creating on individuals, on groups of individuals in society. So, and I think that's what it's about. It's about allowing that transparency without curtailing the innovation. But what it will also allow you to do as an organisation, it will allow you to show that you understood that there are potential risks or potential pitfalls, but this is what you did about it at the time, and this is why you decided not to maybe go one step further with control, and you can justify it. And I think that's where that transparency element comes in, is being able to demonstrate and show and justify the decisions that you've made, whilst still innovating and being able to achieve the intended result for your business.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Chairman.
Any question here?
Yeah. You can hear me, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, greetings from India. I just wanted to know what is the modus operandi for these regulations and standards? I mean to say, what is the mode of operation? Is there any window? Because you set a limit.
So,
when you're regulating, you set a limit.
So I probably can't talk for the regulation side because that's obviously a governmental department perspective. When we look at standards, and that's a really, really sort of like good question. As I said, everything within ISO is developed on consensus. A lot of these international standards tend to start as national body standards, and then they're developed into something that's maybe a little more internationally recognized. So we have one core committee, if you like, that's looking at AI and AI management. And they will be speaking with countries and with experts within countries, and they're going. So, for example, just in the last sort of like year or so, we've had a couple of standards come out around sort of like the management of data quality in machine learning, because it's been seen as a concern, and to the extent that it was agreed that they would develop a guideline standard to support organisations with sort of like assessing the data quality in machine learning. So we can go down to that level of technicality, and if there is, I guess, if there's seen as the global need. These are then, once they're released, what tends to happen is after 3 years, they're then reviewed, and then if there's been any changes or developments within the scope of the standard, then they will look to develop an update. So what you'll find is as well that they're kept up to date to an extent, if that makes sense. So maybe every 3 to 5 years, there will be an update to reflect any changes in that particular sector or in that particular area of specialization. But everything is done on consensus. So I think it's, if memory serves me right, it's like there needs to be 75% agreement for anything to get added to a particular standard. If you get 75%, it's then deemed as it's sufficient enough agreement internationally to be deemed as the best practice. And then what we'll find is that certainly within AI, within ISO, it is absolutely, I think sustainability and AI are probably the two main growth areas we're seeing in ISO standards. They're probably outstripping anything else at the moment, to be honest. But yeah, and again, it's quite interesting because if there's anything that you feel, and I think this is the power of the standards as well, if there's anything that you feel there should be a standard and it's missing, then you should be able to approach the India standards body and ask the question, as people can do in the UK. Anybody can come to us as the national standards body, and why don't we have a standard for X, and then we can scope it out and see if there is an appetite for it. They grow organically.
Only one more.
Question. Okay.
You know that AI is being applied to different areas, medical domain, industry, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Therefore, when you are setting the standards, how do you equate? Because basically there are different fields require different kind of approaches. Then in such case, where in the case of medical there are ethical issues and all those, can you just highlight on? It would be too difficult to set the standards which are equal across all the disciplines.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. All participants who attended today's session in person are also requested to attend the session in person tomorrow as well. And please know tomorrow's session begins exactly at 9:30 a.m. Thank you. Have a great time.